The All Blacks have been defeated in Cape Town by a superior Springbok side. They went down 18 points to 12, meaning South Africa will lift the Freedom Cup tonight, the first time they've held it since 2009, and fittingly on the 30th anniversary of democracy in the Republic. Why am I so chipper given the bad news from a New Zealand perspective? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, I accept this loss wholeheartedly. I believe the better team won today. You know, last week I felt a little bit aggrieved. Now, having seen 2 test matches in South Africa, I have enough of a sample size to know definitively that South Africa is better than us right now. It's a fine margin, but it is definite. But there's something else giving me optimism. Today, I saw a glimpse of the future, and I liked what I saw. Sititi made a very auspicious debut at 6, and at times the All Blacks played with a style that gave you the feeling it could blossom into something world-beating in years to come. Emphasis on years. South Africa got us last week, and a week was simply not enough time to absorb the lessons the world champions gave us. However, this time next year, it might be a very different story. So in this video, I'm going to break down another fantastic, absorbing test match, go through the main turning points, and then get stuck into what a lot of you are going to want to hear. What are the New Zealand talking points? What can we take from this? What does it all mean? And I got to tell you, if I've had any critique on this channel, it's that sometimes my proverbial cup is a little too half full. I'm a little too optimistic. Well, you're not going to get that in this video. You're going to get some brutal truths. New Zealand made some very dumb mistakes in the second half. New Zealand let themselves down at crucial moments. And unlike last week, it wasn't the rookies coming off the bench who messed up. It was our most famous and experienced players who had costly lapses at inopportune times. There were some mistakes today that were just not All Black standard. But let's rewind to the beginning. South Africa consistently played a short line out and had a lot of trouble winning clean ball. In fact, Tupou Vaa'i had a Maro Itoje-like performance. Yes, I know, huge praise. But he showed glimpses of being a disruptive presence like Itoje, who I do think is the best exponent of pissing off the opposition line out. He's the best in the world at disrupting opposition ball and really getting the opposition hooker and locks irate, upset, taking their minds off the job. Tupou Vaa'i did a little bit of that today, and that was good to see. He's becoming a real nuisance at line-out time, and we do need an abrasive figure like that with the retirement of Retallick. So, in the 14th minute, South Africa got a yellow card to Jasper Wies. And then, in the 16th minute, a yellow card went to the All Blacks. It was Sevu Reece, who was very careless with a challenge for a kick in the air. So the 2 yellow cards basically cancelled each other out, and you had 14 on 14 for about 8 minutes there. Cody Taylor turned out to be the best player in black by far. Man, I mentioned a mini form slump a few weeks ago. That is well and truly in the rearview mirror. Cody Taylor was a demon today. And if the All Blacks had somehow managed to get the win and score a try at the end, there's no doubt he would have been the man of the match, period. Nothing against Damien Delende, who was very deserving of his accolade today. But he went off, Asafo Amour came on, and immediately botched a line out, and you thought, oh dear, that wasn't a harbinger of what was to come. Cody Taylor did pass a head injury assessment, came back on, and Asafo Amour tidied up his throwing after that as well. But the story of the first half really was that South Africa was getting a little bit frenetic every time they were attacking. Yes, they were getting traction. Yes, they were playing with a width that we're not used to, but they were still making handling errors at crucial moments, just like they did last week in Johannesburg. So at this point, it's clearly a trend. They're not 100% comfortable with their new wide and expansive game. And those little handling errors definitely were like lifeblood to New Zealand. The All Blacks were sucking on those mistakes. It was a dangerous game South Africa was playing at times because New Zealand was ready to counterattack at every opportunity. And the guy heading off the attack for the All Blacks was Cortez Ratima, our young halfback who replaced TJ Perenara, the very experienced All Black, in the starting lineup this week. I want to say that Ratima's box kicks, they looked sharp. He never got charged down. They looked clean. They looked tidy. And his pass was very crisp. Now, he's not an Aaron Smith yet. There's only one Aaron Smith. But you get the feeling that the way he plays, just like Cam Roigard, gives us a Smith-esque option. And the All Blacks backline was definitely enjoying the quick ruck ball and the speedy service from Ratima. So high marks for him in his run-on debut against the Springboks this week. And then there was another newcomer who did absolutely everything you could want from him. I'm talking about Wallace Sititi at 6. He ran very smart lines. He found space. He was a breakdown presence. There was a general sense of physicality. There was a big nugget in the middle of the field, in a black jersey with a 6 on the back, and that's what we wanted to see. Now, I don't want to put too many tickets on this guy. I agree with some of you who've commented that we're in danger of overhyping him. He doesn't walk on water, okay? He's not the Messiah. But here's what we do like about his game. It's got the right kind of feel for it in terms of getting a better balance in our loose forwards. We want a rangy number 8 who can rove around the field. We want a 7 that can really focus on winning the breakdown battle and getting jackals. And we just want a 6 with a physical presence who does not take a backward step and can crunch the opposition and hurt them with ball in hand. Today, I got the feeling that we have found the right kind of player. Will Wallace Sititi go on to be the man at 6? Time will tell. But if it's not him, it'll be someone like him, because his physical presence, that mongrel, that's what's been missing from the All Blacks loose forward mix. So a big tick for Sititi today, even though there's still a couple of rough edges to his game. So the All Blacks were running hot. They were stringing a lot of phases together. They were very accurate. But the South Africans would just keep punching them in the nose. They are so good at the spot tackle. It seems risky, but they do it so well. They will run up out of the line and just shut down the attack. They did it to Damian McKenzie. They did it to Geordie Barrett. They did it to Rieko Ioane. Crunching spot tackles that would just stem the tide of the All Blacks attack. So with Sititi, who was celebrating his 22nd birthday, happy birthday, buddy, good on you. With him calling for the ball and getting into lots of space, and with the All Blacks actually shading the breakdown battle in the first half, they were able to go into the sheds up 9-3 at halftime. And it did look a little ominous from a Springbok perspective, because you were just feeling like some holes are going to open up in the second half if the All Blacks can keep playing this up-tempo game. In fact, you got the feeling that if the Men in Black couldn't get the job done today, it might not entirely be a case of the Springboks beating them as the All Blacks beating themselves. That's what I was thinking at halftime, and sadly, it was quite a prophetic thought. So in the 45th minute, Rassie Erasmus started to move the chess pieces around. Malcolm Marx came on as a replacement hooker, the most important substitution in the game, and you will be hearing his name a little bit later on. But also Lukhanyo Am came on, so there was a bit of a sense of let's inject the bomb squad. But he didn't put them all on in one go. He started drip feeding them into the game. And of course, this week, Rassie went for a 5-3 split instead of a 6-2. I did think during the week, wouldn't it have been hilarious if the All Blacks went for a 6-2 in anticipation of the Boks doing the same, and then find that they were actually down and back to South Africa? That would have been classic Rassie mind games winning out. But the All Blacks did the right thing and stuck with their traditional 5-3. So with the introduction of some fresh blood for South Africa, the territory started to shift. The All Blacks were now playing down the wrong end of the field. They were repeatedly penalised at the breakdown. Sam Cane was a culprit in the breakdown in this game. If you're not a Sam Cane fan, you found plenty to feel vindicated about in this game. And we'll talk later about why today might have been the last time Cane starts in a 7 jersey for New Zealand. But ultimately, the Springboks had line out after line out in the New Zealand 22. They went for the rolling maul. New Zealand's defense was excellent. They shut down the rolling maul, more or less, but they're only human. Eventually, the repeated efforts from South Africa in the 22 told, and the Springboks found a way to score a try through their captain, Sia Kolisi. Even so, there was a sense of calm. Our attack had looked so fluent in the first half. The presence of Sititi had created some real punch and penetration in the midfield. I just felt like we still had the edge on attack if we could play down the right end of the field. Big if. As I mentioned, South Africa started to play more territory with their kicking game, and that made life pretty hard for us. In the 49th minute, the All Blacks countered with some reserves. We had Rieko Ioane moving to the wing. We had Anton Leonard-Brown going into midfield. Mark Talea came off. TJ Perenara came on. But it was still a tight game, and let's look critically at South Africa. I've already given them their plaudits, congratulated them on a deserved win, but let's keep it real here. Repeatedly, they got isolated and turned over at the breakdown. That's a little bit of a worrying trend for the South Africans, something they need to keep an eye on. Perhaps this is the downfall of their new expansive game. When they typically go for their more traditional tight game, you get the feeling that they're a little bit more in control of the breakdown. As it gets a bit looser, wilder, and you have the loose forwards on either side of the field running in the tram lines, you are in danger of a turnover. And we saw that quite a few times today. At the 1 hour mark, Will Jordan came off, Beauden Barrett replaced him. What did I think of Jordan at fullback? I thought he was fine. I'm not convinced that's a better back three than what we saw last week. I know that Mark Talea probably prefers playing on the left wing, but if you could find a way to get Caleb Clark, Mark Talea, and Will Jordan out there, I think that would be better. Perhaps, though, the best is Beauden Barrett at 15, Will Jordan at 14, and Caleb Clark at 11. Had Clark not been injured, we probably would have seen it again this week. Not convinced Sevu Reece is the answer as an All Black winger, even though he has plenty of talent. What do you guys think? Now, the ref had more to say in this game. In the 62nd minute, the 35-year-old Test veteran, Willie Leroux, he got a yellow card for a somewhat cynical attempt at an intercept. He basically did knock the ball on, flew up into the line, didn't really have a great opportunity to catch it, certainly didn't go at the ball with both hands. This was when the All Blacks were really hot on attack, looking like they might put a try together. So I can understand, if you're following the letter of the law, why Willie Leroux did get a yellow card there. And that was when I felt this is our chance. The South Africans are down. We got to strike now. We got to go for the jugular. And this is when the game became a bit of a case of deja vu. The All Blacks were looking hot. We turned down points. We went for an attacking line out. Spoiler alert, it did not go well. Adi Savea was able to win the ball, but in the process of handing it off to Sam Cane, it got lost forward. And damn, that really hurt. That was the moment to strike. And they blew it. This was a basic error from two of the most experienced and famous All Blacks we have in the team. The former captain, Sam Cane. Again, if you guys think I'm too positive at times, well, this was just bad rugby and a schoolboy error. The All Blacks should have been much more clinical there. They were not under a lot of pressure. It was a horrendous mistake. And it was one of the reasons we weren't able to get the W today. The All Blacks still had more opportunities to attack, but invariably it broke down. In the 64th minute, Scott Barrett knocked the ball on cold. And if he didn't do it, someone else would have, because it was getting frenetic side to side. The All Blacks just couldn't land the killer blow. Listen, we were able to move downfield. We were able to open them up, but we just could not strike in the red zone. That's why we didn't get the win today. Penalties were not enough against South Africa. Not this new South Africa with more attacking intent and more of an ability to score tries. But there was still more opportunities. In the 71st minute, Steenkamp did an illegal action in a ruck. Great. D-Mac steps up to kick a penalty. Nope, he misses. Now look, there were some pretty long-range kicks, but this was not an assured goal-kicking performance from D-Mac. It makes you wonder if perhaps Geordie Barrett should have been taking the long-range kicks today. We left points out there that he couldn't land off the tee. Damien McKenzie, not proven as a long-range penalty kicker in crunch games. I'll leave it at that. So if you're already feeling a sense of deja vu with the All Blacks going for an attacking line out and botching it close to the 70th minute mark, get ready for this. How about a yellow card to a prop, just like last week? It happened to Offa Tuangafasi in Johannesburg, and it happened to Tyrell Lomax this week. Yes, a front rower gets sent off the field for New Zealand, and I'm just like, damn. This is kind of a photocopy of last week. All Blacks are dominant in the first half. All Blacks generally look better with the ball in hand. All Blacks make fundamental errors. All Blacks start to fade as the bomb squad comes on. All Blacks get a crucial yellow card against them as the clock ticks down. I had to pinch myself and remember I was watching a game in Kapstad, not Johannesburg. Now, I told you were going to hear from Malcolm Marx again. Well, in the 73rd minute, he scored a beautifully well-worked try. The guy's amazing. What can I tell you? He is outstanding. And look, when you can bring on Quagga Smith and Malcolm Marx off the bench, you have one hell of a bench. And there were just a few signs of naivety towards the end from the All Blacks. We were in our own 22, about to do a dropout. The boys were kind of throwing the ball around, trying to fake out the South Africans. And you just think, can someone drop kick this thing? Firstly, the ref was all over any time wasting, so the All Blacks came this close to incurring a penalty. Secondly, you're just eating up seconds on the clock that are valuable. Easy for me to say from the comfort of my armchair, but not the brightest play from the All Blacks. Little bit Super Rugby level, not All Black Test level with the decision making there. I feel like I haven't really mentioned Beauden Barrett much. He did come on and show some lovely touches on attack. He was a very good link man, but he didn't grab the game by the scruff of the neck like he did against England in the Steinlager series earlier this year. But then again, South Africa are at a different level to England. So ultimately the Boks held on, final score 12-18. No complaints from me. No complaints from me. With about 5 minutes to go, I wrote down in my notebook, we don't deserve to win this game. because we just made basic errors. And that's ultimately what cost us the game. And what was surprising was that it wasn't the new boys, but it was actually some of the older heads who were committing cardinal sins in the set piece and at the breakdown. And that was what made you think, let's fast forward to the future. Let's not keep playing Kane. Look, I supported the idea of Sam Cane playing at 7 because I felt if you could get a win in South Africa, just one win, confidence would flood through the team. The young boys would absorb that. And here's the thing. The All Blacks absolutely had the firepower to score a converted try in this game and win it. It was a fine margin, like I said, a definite margin, but a fine margin between the two teams. Now, if they had done that, then you'd be saying, isn't it great that Kane played? He helped them get across the line. They needed that win. Well, we didn't win in South Africa. We lost twice. So now it's time to look ahead and say, do we really want to keep playing Kane at 7? He's not going to be around after this year. I don't think we do. I think we could have him coming off the bench. But I think this year is more about development. Holding on to the Bledisloe Cup is non-negotiable. I believe we have the game to beat Ireland. Don't know about France. Don't know about England at Twickenham. But I think we can do well in the Northern Hemisphere if we keep growing. But this is a development year. We're not getting the Rugby Championship this year. Time to start moving quickly toward the future. And the future does still look bright. As I mentioned, Sititi and Ratima were very promising on attack. I just liked the balance of the loose forwards a lot more this week. But there is a feeling of emptiness after this series in South Africa. It reminds me a little bit of 2009. The All Blacks lost 3 in a row to South Africa. And there was a clear gulf in class. The difference is that Dan Carter was out for a couple of those games, and we don't have DC ready to come in and rescue us this time. But you know what? Even if Dan had played in those games, I think the Boks might have still beat us 3 times because they just had the edge up here, the top 2 inches. And that's how it is now. They're playing with more rugby IQ. They're shutting down games better. But the All Blacks did regroup. They bounced back in 2010. They beat the Springboks convincingly at Eden Park the next year. And of course, they did go on to finally get that William Webb Ellis Cup monkey off their back and win it all in Auckland. Now, I know that winning a World Cup feels a long way away after a performance like today. But the point is we have to remember where we are in the cycle. There are natural ebbs and flows in the game. Things can turn around a lot in one year. Hell, before South Africa went back-to-back with World Cups in 2019 and 2023, we put the mother of all beatings on them in New Zealand. People were saying this rivalry is over. The All Blacks are so dominant, it's not even a rivalry anymore. It was a stupid comment at the time, and how stupid does it look now? The reality is, the All Blacks will be back. They are growing. But today, I just want to acknowledge South Africa. They deserved the series. Kind of reminds me of when they won the World Cup in 1995. I watched it with my family. And of course, we're all devastated at full time. I think we all shed a tear, to be honest with you. But by the time Mandela was out there and they were lifting the William Webb Ellis Cup, we all had a smile on our faces. And I found myself actually smiling as I watched the South Africans today, thinking, yeah, they're on top of the world, and they deserve this. But nothing lasts forever. The All Blacks are coming for them. Not this year. But watch out for this next generation of All Black talent. Do not sleep on them. There are signs that New Zealand rugby could be a sleeping giant that's going to come to life in the next couple years. We're not there now, but I'm keeping the faith. I'm going to respond to all your comments. Sound off below. I'll talk to you guys there. Time to regroup and then bring on Australia. Catch you next week, guys. Bye for now.